Hi everyone, welcome to COMN 102. I'm Lee. I'm recording this video outside on the fly just to sort of show you that this level of casualness is entirely appropriate for the class. We are a speaking class. You've got 4 weeks and your job is to speak. There really isn't a whole lot else to say. You've got a couple different kinds of assignments just because I want you to get familiar with different genres, right? Your first one is about you. I think that's an easy topic to talk about because it doesn't require research. It's also a hard topic to talk about because you don't know yourself necessarily. But you'll get to know yourself, and a lot of students actually have found this super helpful for job interviews, just kind of general self-awareness, being able to talk to other people about who they are. We'll talk about that more when the next video comes out. Let's see. Your persuasive is actually pretty fun. I have gotten rid of research in the generic sense of citations and asked you instead to do a rebuttal speech, right? Find an argument, a disagreement, a controversy that you actually care about. It doesn't even need to be like a big deal. One of my favorite all-time speeches was this one that this woman gave about how she didn't think that it was fair that sororities were centralized and fraternities were not. And so they shouldn't be. So essentially she argued for a policy change, which to me is kind of the easiest sort of speech to give, which is, I think this should change. I think we should be decentralized just like the fraternities are. And your goal there is going to be to do a rebuttal. So instead of just arguing why you're right, which frankly, you don't need to go to college to do that well. Anybody can do that with access to like a Reddit thread. You go on and you find, this is your research, right? You look into what the opponent says, the kinds of things you hear, how you learned about this, what your parents are saying, what your friends are saying, what you're seeing on the media, whatever you want, right? And then you address directly their arguments for their side. And this is also great if you have any interest in law or debate or argumentation, which is sort of one of my specialties. Okay, and then our last speech is an epideictic, which is a fancy word for just sort of your everyday speech that is like old as time about values in human society and what things mean to us and what we should celebrate and what we should condone. And sometimes they're ceremonial, like they happen at funerals, and sometimes they happen at graduations. The motivational speech is a very common example of this. It's also the worst example of it. So that one is a nice way to end the semester back sort of with something that you care about and can develop your thinking around in addition to just sort of doing the speech. And then in between you do 3 impromptus, which is essentially what this is. It's almost like Lee give a 4-minute impromptu about your COMN public speaking online class, and this is what I came up with. Now for your impromptus, I expect them to feel like impromptus. So if you're scripted, if you're over-relying on notes, that's really not the point. With the impromptus, the way I've set them up is you're going to do 3 of them. So you're going to do 1 this week, then you skip a week, and then it's week 4 and week 5, just to kind of give you a break in the rhythm. And there are 3 days. It's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and there's a morning slot and an evening slot. Remember, that's Eastern Standard Time if you're not in New York. And you're going to send me a message on Remind, or you can Marco Polo me, or you can text me at the start of your window. So if you're choosing let's say this week, you want to do tomorrow, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Okay, great. You text me at 10 a.m. And you say, hey, I'm ready. And then I will generate a random prompt for you. That way you don't all get the same prompts. So there can be lots of different things to talk about. And they could be anything. They're going to be all over the place. Some will be very weird. Some will be fun. Some will be intriguing. All of them will be unique. You're not kindergartners. You don't need prompts on like what you ate for breakfast. You can stand a little more challenge than that. But they also might be things that you need to think about. So you get about an hour to contemplate, read a little bit, think about it, write a couple notes for yourself, but then I expect you to get on the phone and I expect you to just talk for a minute about the topic. And at that point, I don't want you to have notes. I don't want anything in front of you. It's 60 seconds to 2 minutes, which is 120 seconds. And we're just training your voice. We're training thinking on your feet. We're training what we call speech planning, which is your ability to call to mind the things you want to speak about. And that is really, I think, to me, like the crux of public speaking. It's also the thing people hate the most. And for that, I do find that, my favorite's ChatGPT 5.5. I actually pay for the subscription because I like it so much. You could use any other model, but you could actually go in there and sort of run your impromptu and have it stress tested or kind of argue back against it or give you different options to kind of get you ready to respond, as opposed to just writing, give me a speech, give me a 2-minute speech on cars or whatever. We don't want to do that. That doesn't help you at all. But you can use it to say, hey, I have this topic, help me come up with ideas. What do you think about this idea? What if I say this? What if I say that? But you're going to have to like tell it how to think like me. As you learn more about how I think and how I teach, because you do not, I don't care if you're right, frankly. I don't care if you're polished. I don't care if you sound good. I don't care if you have the best ideas ever. I don't care if you can spell. I don't care how your grammar is. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I also don't care if you swear. I just care that you're learning how to come up with ideas, refine them and make them interesting on the spot, getting them into your brain, getting them out of your mouth in a way that makes you seem conversational, engaging, and like uniquely you, whatever that means. And also, if uniquely you is a ton of verbal fillers and a bunch of talking like this at the end of your sentences, we should work on that, because you shouldn't be just doing that by default. It can be very distracting, frankly. And if I were doing that, you would take me less seriously. That's just kind of the way the world works. I didn't make it, I just live in it. And then you have opportunities to revise your first 2 speeches. In fact, I would think you're probably all gonna want to revise them, because again, this isn't really about getting it right the first time or even getting it right at all. It's just about doing stuff and letting me critique you, and then you try again and critique you and try again. And I think by the end of the semester, you'll actually feel like you've improved quite a bit, despite the fact that it's just a couple of weeks online. With that said, the final thing I'll say, I tried to keep this video at 5 minutes. It never happens. This is what happens when you don't have notes. I will say, if I had a set of notes, I probably would be better off. The other thing I'll say is just like about attendance or participation or whatever you want to call that. I've tried to make this casual using Remind, so we can text very informally. You can always use my phone number. I just didn't know if you wanted me to have your number, so Remind will protect your number while also allowing us to just communicate easily. And then you have Marco Polo, which is an app I really like for sending videos back and forth very quickly and on a very low, like these videos take up a lot of space, right? And then I have to upload them to Brightspace, and you have to upload them to Brightspace, and then we have to download them. It's a nightmare. So just kind of doing them on Marco Polo. You can do your impromptus there. You can also submit the videos of your written speeches there as well. Although for those, you will have like usually notes, or for the last one, you'll have a script, but that's all explained in the Brightspace modules. Just try to stay on pace. Like if you're a little late one week, if you fall behind on this, if you don't get a submission in, that's fine. But the idea is to stay on pace. And the most important thing is get those speeches in early, because if you get them in early, you can get feedback and you can revise them. And it's better to submit a really shitty first draft and get a chance for feedback and revision than it is to try and get everything perfect and then risk like being late. And at any point, like, you do pay me. I mean, you don't pay me in the you don't pay me in the sense that like you pay me to tell you that you're right kind of thing, like the customer is always right. That's not what's happening here. But you do pay me to put work in, and you do pay me to listen to you, and you do pay me to shape and refine your ideas. So if you don't reach out for help, if you don't ask for meetings, if you don't send me Marco Polos, if you don't text me, then really all you've done is pay tuition, and you just let me collect my paycheck and do nothing, which is fine by me if that's what you want. But also I understand that this is work. I'm here to do a job, and all you need to do is kind of nudge me and say, hey, I need to talk about something, and we'll set it up. It's just really not that big a deal. And that's where Marco Polo is really nice, because if you are struggling or you have questions, you can hop on, submit a polo, and I can polo you right back. It makes life very easy and very low stress, and it is just significantly better than trying to communicate by text message, or sometimes setting up a meeting can feel a little daunting. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the class. I hope you learn a lot. I hope you reach out if you have questions, and looking forward to the next 4 weeks. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.